Let's just start it in full screen, or does it really matter? Right. So, in this episode, we have a good friend from back in college joining us, and we're going to be talking about the sort of going abroad for a semester. And I know a lot of people are very uppity if they want to do it or don't want to do it. And that is what I didn't do. And plus my teacher kind of accidentally said, oh yeah, you can go here, but you have a week to submit any the things you need to submit to go there. So we kind of missed the deadline, so I didn't get the opportunity. But my good friend, if you want to introduce yourself and what you're doing.
My name is Ethen Lowe, and yeah, Chris and I studied at Chichester College. We're in the same graphic design and photography class. So
Yeah.
It's been a while now. It's crazy. I can't believe we're like at the end. So I'm studying BA photography as well, but I'm at UCA Farnham.
Yeah.
In my last year, and yeah.
Yeah, no, you got to have the opportunity to go to Boston?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to Mass Art Boston.
Yeah. So yeah, we got the opportunity. Was that your only opportunity to go?
No, I applied for a few different things. I applied for Rome, I think like Finland or something as well, and then 2 in America.
Okay. So yeah, you had a lot of opportunities where we only got Canada, Fanshawe University, or Finland. It started with a H. I can't pronounce it for the life of me. No. I'm not even going to butcher that. How was the experience?
So, well, the application experience was, I think it's kind of, for most unis, pretty similar, that they are pretty, not amazingly run. Some of them are a bit well, from my experience anyway.
Yeah.
It's kind of an opportunity that they want to give people, but they don't really like explain it that well or promote it. So I remember on my intro in my first year, a girl who was in her last year was telling me how she did the experience, went away, blah, blah, blah. And I always remember, had that in the back of my mind, like, oh, I really want to do that. But it wasn't really brought up until somewhere in the second year, like first term. Actually, it might have been end of first year, like very end of first year. Someone mentioned it, and they were like, "Oh, well, if you want to apply, go to this meeting, blah blah blah." So yeah, I went to the meeting. They kind of gave you a very vague idea of what you can do, where you can go, and yeah, just applied, and it took very long to apply. There was like loads and loads of different applications, so that you would apply for something and they'd be like, okay, yeah, you've been accepted, but now you have to apply for this, and then you have to apply to actually get into the uni. So it was long, and a lot of the time I was kind of like, oh, do I want to do this? Like,
yeah, the ifing and ahhing,
like, I don't like. I was definitely
the stress.
Like, I was like, oh, I'm not too fussed at this point if I don't make it to the next thing.
Yeah.
But then my mum was like, no, you need to keep on it, get doing it. So luckily for that, like, I did stick to it, and yeah, eventually after a lot of time, and it was kind of like you were saying, how they were like, oh, you've only got like
X amount of time
this to do, and but you wouldn't realize, they wouldn't tell you that it's been open for 2 months until the last week, and then you're like, well, okay, I've got to write a whole personal statement, and so it was similar in that aspect. But luckily, I was very lucky to kind of manage to just get everything in on time. Finally get accepted.
So your applications opened up towards the end of your first year going into second?
Yeah, because it depends on what opportunity your uni's like giving you and what you're applying for. Because there's either you can do a whole year, you can just do one term. So depending on when that is, it'll be different times. But I'm pretty sure most universities do it in the second year, because you've kind of
it is the second year.
Not your most important last year, and it's also not your like learning first year kind of thing.
Yeah.
So normally, I think towards either the end of the first year or very beginning, if you're only doing like one term and it's your last term of the second year, they might do it in the first term. So it depends. But
we got ours before Christmas. So that
Yeah.
semester, because in the UK, they're broken up into 3 semesters. You
Yeah.
have from September to December, then after New Year to like April, and then you have April to the end of year.
Yeah.
Our teacher came to us and said, "Oh, you have to submit everything for second year if you're wanting to go to said place,
Yeah.
and you have to fill it in all before Christmas."
Yeah.
And then you have probably, if you got through that part, you had then the waiting list like you
Yeah.
had,
Yeah.
but the whole written stuff had to be done before Christmas.
Yeah.
And we only had, she was like, I remember she came into the classroom and she said, well, I kind of forgot about this, but if you want to, you can study abroad for a
Yeah.
semester, and you have a week to fill out this, and this, and go
Yeah.
to these people, email these people. And with our uni, our sister unis in Canada, we had to pay off of our own back.
See.
Now, the one in Helsinki in Finland, the uni substituted that, so housing and everything like that.
Let's see.
But a lot of us were like, why not go to Helsinki? Why
Yeah.
not Fanshawe in Canada?
Yeah.
But it was then the catch-22 is you have to then fund yourself for said like
Yeah.
term,
Yeah.
like find housing, find all that on your own back instead of the uni.
Yeah.
Was that similar to what you had to do when you moved to Boston?
See.
The audio has stopped.
I just assumed because like when I moved to uni, they were like, "Oh, here's halls, like here's all your loan and everything," and any payments you have to make at the uni is kind of in sync with your loan. And then once I'd been fully accepted to the uni in America and everything, and then they were like, "Yeah, so we're sending you your bill." Got this hefty bill because I didn't have to pay for the uni because the university I think each term is like 13,000 or something. So luckily, we didn't in exchange so that I didn't pay anymore. But for housings wise and kind of like I had to also they had dorms there, different
Mm-hmm.
dorms and different like tiers of expensiveness. But depending on what dorm you're in, you had to have like cafeteria money kind of thing that you had to pay them in advance because there's no cooking facilities.
Oh,
So
wow.
so I got this bill and I was like, oh my god, I don't get my loan for another 3 months or something. I was like, what am I gonna do? And I spoke to them and they were like, nope, sorry, you have to pay it now. And I was like, I can't go. I don't have that money to go.
Jeez.
And then luckily my mom was like, no, we're sorting this out. Like we'll figure out how to do it. Managed to work it out that the money I had left from my loan, I paid, and I'd been saving up to go traveling after uni, kind of just putting money away.
Yeah, same
So
here.
I
That's
ended up
why.
having to use that, which I didn't
Oh,
realize how much
fuck.
I had because I'd just been kind of putting it in and looked in my bank, I had enough. So I was like, oh, fuck. So I pulled all of my money together, paid for it. And it was the same. It was like, you did have to pay a lot. And that's definitely something that if anyone out there is thinking about doing it, and they definitely should, just start saving early. Because like I eventually did pay myself like my savings back with like my loan. But yeah, that was hefty. That was scary. And I had to get, because I was going to New York, America, I had to get insurance, health insurance. And the
Oh,
university
shit. Yeah.
insurance and the insurance they offer is astronomical. Like I probably wouldn't be able to go if I'd had to pay that. But luckily I did some research on my own and found a lot cheaper insurance that was, a couple $100 and ended up paying that, which was good. And so saved me a couple thousand for doing that. But yeah, that bit was a bit nerve wracking. That was towards the end as well, just before I was going. So I was like it's my own fault. I probably should have realized that was going to be the thing. But definitely, yeah, if I was to tell anyone, then yeah, think about that before. Save a bit of money. It's definitely doable. But
Yeah.
you just have to kind of think about it in advance.
Yeah, that's what I like about what your university did, where they told you towards the end slash middle of your first year, where unlike
Yeah,
my uni, it was like you're finishing your first semester 9 times out of 10. Okay, I wasn't one of the many first years that went out partying every single day, because
yeah,
that is a typical thing that first years do, is literally
yeah,
get smashed every single day, turn up to
yeah.
lectures
Loads of
smashed.
money.
Yeah. But I still didn't. It was like 2,000 or something like that, and I had maybe 1,000 left over, and I'm like, well, shit. And they want that
Yeah,
up front now,
exactly. Yeah, you have to
where
pay
at
everything
least
up front.
if we were told before Christmas, or if you're thinking about going, this is how much it was cost, this is what you have to write, and then but the submission was maybe April or
Yeah,
February. So when that first the loan drops in the beginning of the year, you can put that
yeah,
aside, sort of thing.
yeah,
But
definitely. Yeah, yeah. That's because that's yeah. Luckily, I was it like towards the end. I wasn't really like partying that much or anything, and I was definitely had in my mind kind of trying to save what money I had before, which was very lucky. But it is definitely doable. And also there are a lot of things. If you go to Europe, you can apply for this thing called the Erasmus, which
yeah,
is like bursary. And then also on your normal student loan, you can get extra. Like mine went up a couple grand because I was going away. I told them I was going away. So if that's like what you want to do,
oh,
then
see, we weren't told about that.
yeah,
That if
exactly.
you
That's the thing
go,
they don't tell you. So I had to do a lot of last minute research and contacted a couple of people. Luckily, um,
geez,
yeah, because there was. I asked our like administrative person, like, is there people that have been before that I can like contact? And luckily, there was a couple of people um, that were very helpful.
so
So
definitely get in contact with other
yeah,
people that
for
have been.
sure. And like there will be people there um, that have gone. And I said this year, I emailed them and said, please give my email to anyone that's going and tell them that like if they have any questions, ask me, because it was really helpful for me. Even like small things, like I spoke to a guy and he told me how to get from the airport to the like dorms the easiest way,
Yeah,
what I'm gonna need first off, and like how to get money and stuff, which was really helpful. So yeah, ask whoever's setting up the trip to like give your email out and get some people, because a lot of people will be helpful.
yeah, no. I think that's what I like about like the university culture is like we had a couple of Erasmus students in our first year, but then they didn't stay in the first year program. They
Mm.
went to third year program, but because the whole introduction thing, first years, they also come and have the introduction who the teachers are and everything.
Yeah.
But I remember a couple of the guys there were from Fanshawe and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I didn't have the opportunity to talk to them, but I know a couple of my other friends at uni did, and they
Yeah.
were debating about it. But until our uni
Yeah.
made the mistake of, oh yeah, forgot about it. But
Yeah.
other
That's
than like sort of traveling there and experiencing a new place, what sort of other things that teach you away from the courses that the English teach? So I know that was an opportunity that we got. I think the one in Finland was more portrait and sort
okay.
of um, portrait and sort of fashion sort of
Yeah.
styling, where the one in Fanshawe were more landscapes and like inner city sort of, because it was in Toronto, I think it
Mm.
was. So of course that made more sense there.
Yeah.
Was there any different avenues that you
Yeah.
found out by going to a
Yeah.
different
So
university abroad?
for sure, yeah. In like my uni here, you can kind of do what you want, any process, any form of photography. Like this girl for her final project in Farnham, my uni now, um, ended up doing some weird scientific. She had, the thing where they grow like bacteria in the like
Oh yeah,
pot
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
She took photos and then took a swab of the photo and then made bacteria from some like weird stuff.
My head
So
lecturer did that
yeah,
for for his back like ages ago. He got like spider webs
mm,
from the like his shed, froze
yeah,
them, and then he put them in a scanner. and
Oh, that's
scanned them,
crazy.
and they came out like really weird,
Yeah.
funky, sort of like you didn't think it was spider webs because like it was so zoomed in.
Yeah.
And I think he also photographed them with the phase one. And if
Oh,
anybody
wow.
knows the phase one, that
Yeah.
like is
That's
you can
yeah.
see every little detail.
Yeah.
Like
Literally.
when you
Yeah.
zoom in like to 100%, 1,000%.
Yeah.
So that's similar to
Yeah.
what my
So yeah, exactly. Like so, experimental. They love like that. You can pretty much do anything. And then going to America was like, yeah, very different because they are very kind of tech heavy and composition heavy. So you would have to make well-made images. You can't do any manipulation really. Like they don't really like that. Any kind of like collagey stuff. It's, I mean, you can do what you want, but you'll get quite a lot of kind of backlash. And but I love that. Like my favorite kind of photography is like very well composed, well printed, like sharp imagery. So I was happy doing that, and I was enrolled in a advanced large format class, which was probably one of the best classes I've ever taken. So we were shooting 4x5, and I had a teacher whose name was Penn. He just graduated from Yale, and it was his like first teaching job, and he was amazing, so good. I learned a lot. So, but yeah, it was just kind of, it definitely to me was more of a, I don't know how to say it, but like you would have to do prints every time you did a critique. Pretty much every 2 weeks, you would
yeah, that's
have
the
to
same
do
with our uni.
big prints. And then towards the end of a project, a lot of people would make a book, which is how I love to work. Like love working in books and things. So, and then you didn't have to hand in research journals, which is what you have to do at my uni now.
Yeah,
So
it's the
like you
same
would
here.
hand in a whole sketchbook of a research journal, and then like your photos can be whatever. They could be prints this big, they could
Yeah,
be a book. So it was nice having that structure. Kind of, you have to make these big exhibition prints like all the time. It's very like the critiques are very formal. Kind of people would talk, and you would all look at each other's individual images. So I really liked that. And yeah, it definitely changed the way my process, at least, and I think gave me a bit more structure. I think it's definitely nice at my uni having the kind of options to do anything, but it's also nice when they tell you what to do.
yeah, I have to do such and such.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that sounds like a mix of my uni where in first year, they gave like how big they want the prints, like minimum
Mm.
size. And in first year, I think the minimum size was like A4,
Yeah.
and then third year was A3, and then this year we were supposed to have a gallery up in London, but
Mm.
because of this whole shit going sideways in the world,
Yeah.
that's now been postponed, and we could have up to A2. But then the photographic studios in our uni, because you've been to my uni to walk around
Yeah.
in open days. Remember those photographic studios?
Yeah.
The entire floor gets transformed into a gallery, and you could have up
Oh
to
wow.
A000 prints.
Jeez.
And that was like the one thing I was looking forward to, like your final year, your final like gone,
Yeah.
like okay,
Yeah.
next step into the world. But now
Yeah.
that's all blown
Yeah.
out of proportion, and just it now doesn't exist
Yeah.
for third years now. But the structure, submitting books, journals, stuff like that, it sounds like an in between of, yeah, you can do anything, i.e., film,
Yeah.
digital, portrait, stuff like that, but you still have to do the journals,
Yeah. Yeah.
but the
So
massive prints.
yeah, I liked that, and the facilities there, like compared to my uni, were like insane. They had like 3 rooms of just Max, and that's just for the third years, and like 5 massive Epson printers. So it was really, you didn't have to pay for any ink, which was nice. You just bought big rolls of paper and printed out forever. So I felt a lot more comfortable printing there, definitely for sure. Had to learn a lot. So I was shooting mostly analog for both years at
Yeah,
Farnham.
no, I remember.
So by the time I got there, and they were like, for one of my classes, you had to shoot digital. And it was good actually, because I learned a lot in that. I had to do it, and normally I just chose not to. So it was nice. And now I shoot a lot more digital and actually get a lot more out of it. So
Well, I
that's
think
nice.
jumping from digital to no, analog to digital, because you're in the dark room, because you're like printing physical, you get to see what the true colors are.
Yeah.
Where I think a lot of people today like have that really fluorescent green like grass, and that like either a washed out blue for the sky or that like bright blue that
Yeah.
doesn't look realistic.
Yeah.
And I think with analog, it teaches you this is what you get.
Yeah.
So then when it comes
Definitely.
to editing, if you do edit your photos,
Yeah.
um, you understand the color schemes and color theory.
Yeah.
But I think
Definitely.
we got taught a lot of color theory back in college because we did graphics,
Mm.
and I feel that benefited
Yeah,
us.
for sure. I'm definitely glad I did some graphic design, like in the bookmaking and a lot of things. It's been very helpful. Like, even though it was an interesting class and interesting teacher, um, yeah, I definitely think it was helpful. But, yeah.
Yeah, no, we only got to make books in our third year,
Mm.
and we were supposed to make a portrait book, not a portrait, a portfolio,
Yeah.
and then we were supposed to make an FMP book, and
Mm.
then we made a CPP book. And from doing graphics, like I did my CPP on like special needs children, and I got them to have throwaway cameras, and they went around photographing whatever they want because it's the looking through the eyes of somebody on the autistic spectrum and how they view the world.
Yeah.
But then when it came to selecting the 100 and something images, what I did, I contact sheeted all of them.
Yeah.
And then laid them all out, bought a like flimsy book, and then cut them all out and
Oh yeah. Yeah.
stuck them together in a book with sellotape to see which pictures work and the
Yeah.
flow of the book. And I think we learned that from college, where you
Yeah.
have to think about the
For sure.
text, you have to
Yeah.
think about everything like that.
Yeah. 100%. And yeah, even like typefaces. Like when I was making books there, I yeah, some people's books were interesting. It's just good. It's not their fault. It's like they just either haven't like been in contact, because it's a lot of people don't read the books that much. They'll look on Instagram, look on the website, so they won't look at books that much, and even typefaces and stuff. So it's definitely given us some.
Going back to you mentioning like in the university that you stayed at in America, you
Yeah.
printed out everything and you showed like massive prints. There was another podcast that we did. Like a lot of people don't print their work. They go out like on a photo shoot and immediately just upload it on Instagram or just forget about it. And we talked about the whole theory behind print your work if you can. Either send it off or sort of just, if you have a printer, a good printer, print it yourself. And also then you get the opportunity to actually physically hold the piece of work.
Definitely that printing my work has probably excelled me in like what I do as like astronomically. Like I think if I'd started printing a while ago, I probably would be at a more advanced point than I am now. Like it's definitely like it changes the way you view your photos as well. If they have a purpose, if they're like going towards something, then it's so different. If I'm just, that's why I found shooting on digital quite hard in the beginning, because I wasn't printing it. Whereas like with the analog, I had to print it if I wanted to see it.
Yeah.
So, and then I would have it and I would love it. So printing, because when I printed digital, it made me actually realize how much I appreciate the digital photography and once it's printed. And I think for people that want to get stuff printed, maybe if you don't have that much money and you don't have access, try and order a book. There's loads of websites you can order like relatively cheap books, and then you can get a load of photos printed like all at once. But yeah, if you have any kind of printer, just buy some paper or something and just put through, even if they're like small 4x5 things or A4. Definitely print is where it's at. Like print people say print's dead, but no, it is part of photography just as much
Yeah.
as anything else. So
So I
yeah,
kind of like how you mentioned that in the other university it was completely different, and you got to print your work. That was like the main criteria
yeah,
is you must come to these meetings with printed work.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was like, so every 2 weeks you had a thing called a critique, and you would have to bring 10 to 15 prints, and they had to be, I think it was 17 by 22 or something, 17 by 20, whatever, like
And
size
not
like that
contact
is. So,
sheets.
no, they wanted like finished, like print, like things like you were,
We can bring in contact sheets for our talks, but we don't
yeah.
have to bring in printed pieces
Yeah,
of
so
work.
that's what's different. That's what in my uni, like now in England, I have to yeah, just bring in examples,
Yeah.
things like there. You would go into a room, it was like an all white room, and they had a board. When it was your turn, you'd go hang up your 10 massive prints, and they would first talk about the kind of concept of your work and how that works, and then they would go into the technical side, which was amazing for me because I'm a gearhead when it comes to photography. I love like all that
Yeah,
stuff.
I
So
remember.
it was nice for them to be like, okay, that's too blue. When you're printing next time, don't sharpen as much. So they really help you kind of, I think in their mind, it's, you're going to become a photographer that exhibits or makes books. So they're very like print orientated. So it was nice having to print. So every week at some point I would have to print. Like once I've taken my photos, like you had to submit every Sunday, every week, 20 new photos, which was insane because here I'm normally quite slow, do a
Yeah.
few things here, but it made me do multiple shoots, which was really good. And then I would have to print 10 from those. So printing, and it was good because they gave you good facilities to print. I think that's very important.
Yeah, no, we have good facilities to print,
Yeah.
like at our university. And we have like the massive Epson
Yeah.
printers. And we got rid of the old styles and we got the brand new ones. The
Yeah.
black ones are, I think, like
Oh, yeah.
800 quid or
Mm.
something like that. So I'm debating about with this next student loan and considering I haven't got a place to stay, investing in a good printer.
Yeah, absolutely. When I'm settled somewhere, doing something like you'll be going up to London, getting your own place, that's going to be the first thing I buy
Yeah.
because one, you print your work, good quality printing. You can print your own work for exhibitions, which normally costs a lot, and they'll love if you can do that. And also, I was watching a interview the other day by Jack Latham, and he owns one of those printers, and he rents it out to people and students and stuff for, depending, like there's student prices, and so you can earn money from it.
Yeah.
He'll
And also you
he
can make your own
pay to
books
print it. Yeah, exactly. That would be
because
a big thing.
we have to make our own books at my university.
Yeah,
So the understanding of the folding, the InDesign, even though we understand that from graphics,
yeah,
but we never really printed from InDesign, did
yeah,
we?
exactly. No, it
So
was
the
always like
understanding that
digital.
if you're doing a I forget there's two stitches. There's a saddle stitch, and
Mm.
then there's the French something braid, where it
Yeah,
has to be in groups of 8, and
yeah,
then you braid down. But the saddle stitch is just a standard
yeah,
stitch, and that's in groups of 2. So your book has to either end in groups of 2 times table or the 8 times
yeah,
table, and it's stuff
yeah,
like that. That if you know, then if you have a printer, you can print your own books. You can print your own
exactly.
portfolios. You can update your portfolios. You can do stuff like that.
Yeah. So this is the last book I made for my project. It was called Off Grid Sample. So I just did a project about going and living off grid, like in the wild, and that's what I did. I did the kind of normal, like saddly stitched
Yeah, the saddle stitch.
for
Yeah.
that, and just bound it myself. The paper was okay. I printed it at my uni,
Oh,
so
okay.
it was just like a small book slash zine thing. So yeah, after going to America, all of my work is print. Like a
Yeah.
lot of my fellow students are doing kind of digital stuff and trying to project, but to me, books or large exhibition prints are like a must. at the end of every project. So,
I think that comes down to because you enjoy analog, having that
yes.
physical, tangible sort
Yeah.
of feeling. And now with a book, you have that.
Yeah.
It's like I've invested in so many books in
Yeah.
my second year. No, not second year, third year. It's
Yeah.
like every month I told myself when I moved to my flat, I told myself I'm going to buy a book every year. Don't care what
Yeah.
it is, as long as it could be something to do with photography. It could be something to do with something like I'm reading this book currently called The Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yeah.
And that is like the most eye-opening book, but I wouldn't have bought it if I didn't give myself that, like, okay, I'm going to buy a book
I've got to
every
pick
month.
something.
Yeah. And like physically written. I've got black and white, the composition, the art of composition, color theory, even though from my art background, I have a lot of color theory in my head, but it's interesting to know, didn't think that works that way around, or new ideas, or even compositions, because I'm quite good at compositions, and I would say you're quite good at compositions as well, naturally. But when I got that composition book, like like a frame within a frame, never thought about it.
Yeah.
But that's one of my most favorite shots, and I
And
got
it
that
just
from
makes
a
you
book.
realize stuff you've been automatically doing, and it makes you realize that you're doing it, and then you can make it even better.
So yeah, no, definitely print books and print.
Yeah, print books, buy books. Like recently, I've fallen in love with the Mac photo book store, and I've just been spending too much money on investing in loads of books, just because like seeing other people's work and seeing how they present it has been like pretty impactful. Like it's so different to seeing kind of Instagram pages or something.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like people just treat them differently than they would a book. So
Also, a book's timeless,
exactly,
and that's
and you
something
can
else.
pick it up whenever before you go to bed. You don't want that blue light. Just
Yeah.
It's nice, but yeah, and it's so universal. I was watching another video because everyone's doing, all the photographers are doing online talks now that they're stuck at home. And there's one by Paul Graham a couple of days ago on the MacBook website, and he was showing loads of books, famous photographers, and then he was like, "Oh, this is a great book by Matthew Connors." I was like, "I know that name," and he was one of my lecturers in Boston. And I was like, "This famous photographer has this guy's book." Like, it's crazy. If he'd had his Instagram page,